Hello, and welcome to the 2019 Training and Services to End Violence Against Women with Disabilities grant. The free information we provide in this webcast is based on our interpretation of the grant announcement. The viewer is advised that the publicly published grant announcement and the funding agency are the final authority on this subject grant. I would love to tell you a bit about myself. I am your presenter. My name is Sarita Gibbons. I am the owner for Comprehensive Grants Management. I have been providing successful grant writing services over the last 12 years with an average 65% grant writing success rate. To tell you a bit about me, my hobbies are reading, painting, gardening, and playing the piano. Comprehensive Grants Management provides additional value to clients by presenting free online webcasts, such as this one, about currently available grant funding opportunities. We provide full-time, full-year grant writing services to clients nationwide. I've also provided for you the URL for our company website. You can visit our website. You will see a list of our staff members. We have a very trained, expert team of grant writers all under one roof that is just waiting to work on your grant application. We also have blogs and vlogs and articles, and we have an endless list of successes, grant writing successes that we have accumulated over the 12 years of being in operation, and we welcome you to visit our website. Today's webcast will be about the 2019 Training and Services to End Violence Against Women with Disabilities grant. This grant is issued by the Department of Justice, and I've also provided for you a URL for additional grant application information assistance. The goal of the Disability Grant Program is to create sustainable change within and between organizations that improves the response to individuals with disabilities and deaf individuals who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and sexual assault, and to hold the perpetrators of such crimes accountable. Disability Grant Program funds are used to establish and strengthen multidisciplinary collaborative partnerships, also to increase organizational capacity to provide accessible, safe, and effective services to individuals with disabilities, and also deaf individuals who are victims of violence and abuse. Also, funds are to identify needs within the grantee's organization and/or service area, and also to develop a plan to address those identified needs that builds a strong foundation for future work. Eligible applicants for this grant program includes states, units of local government, that will be towns, cities, villages. Also, Indian tribal governments or tribal organizations are eligible applicants. Victim service providers are also eligible applicants. A victim service provider is a nonprofit, governmental, or tribal organization or rape crisis center, including a state or tribal coalition that assists or advocates for domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking victims, including domestic violence shelters, faith-based organizations, or other organizations with a documented history of effective work concerning domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. Also important for you to note is that there are other program eligibility requirements. The funding agency stated that every applicant must identify and support a multidisciplinary collaborative team comprised of, at a minimum, one of the following, and they listed two. So number one is at least one victim service provider or tribal organization serving victims of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault. So remember, every applicant must identify and support a multidisciplinary collaborative team comprised of, at a minimum, either one or two. Two is at least one nonprofit, one non-governmental organization or tribal organization serving individuals with disabilities and or deaf individuals. So those are the eligible applicants, and your multidisciplinary collaborative team, which you must enter into a memorandum of understanding with this collaborative partner in order to maintain your status as an eligible applicant for this grant program. The grant due date is February the 7th, 2019 at 11:59:59 Eastern Standard Time. So we are less than a month for you to create your grant application. So if you have not gotten started already, please get started as soon as possible. You now have less than a month to create your grant application. Remember, the due date is February the 7th, 2019. Please get it in before midnight Eastern Standard Time. The funding levels for the grant award amount is as follows. For new locally focused grant programs, it will be, you can request up to $425,000 for the entire 36 months of the grant program. If you are a new state-focused grant purposed program, you can request up to $500,000, that is $500,000 for the 36-month grant program. If you are a continuation applicant, meaning you have been previously funded and so you are requesting additional funding and you do have a locally focused grant program, then you can request up to $325,000 for 24 months. If you are a renewal continuation applicant and you are state focused, then you can request up to $400,000 for 24 months. And those are the funding levels under this grant program for fiscal year 2019. The funding agency stated that the estimated number of awarded applicants will be 10 applications. So make sure that you submit a very thorough and strong grant application in order to stay competitive in winning one of these 10 grant awards for 2019. The period of performance for this grant program is October the 1st, 2019 to October the 1st, 2022. I have some good news for you. This program has no match or no cost share requirement, which, as you know, to secure leveraging and match to meet the grant requirements sometimes can be an extreme labor burden. So for this grant program, there is no match or cost share requirement, which eliminates that particular labor burden, and that is good news for you. So no match or cost share for this grant program. The funding agency has provided us with some priority areas. In 2019, the Office of Violence Against Women is interested in supporting the priority areas as identified below, and they have two priority areas. So the first is to reduce violence violent crime against women and promote victim safety. So please note that the Office of Violence Against Women encourages continuation applicants to include activities addressing Purpose Area 137 and 8 to support this priority. And I will go through the purpose areas for you in the next slide. The second priority area is to include substance abuse professionals in a coordinated community response to VAWA crimes and include victim access to substance abuse services. So if you do have substance abuse professionals in your organization, then that's great. If you do not, you can partner with a community service partner that does have substance abuse professionals in their platform as one of their core services. And through partnership with them, then you can meet this requirement as a priority area. So please note that the Office of Violence Against Women encourages applicants to work with substance abuse partners in order to meet this priority area. So these are the two priority areas, and I highly encourage you to ensure that you do have them in your grant applications so that you can be treated with priority. The funding agency identified 8 purpose areas that funds under this program must be used for one or more of the following purpose areas. So make sure you address at least one, even more of these purpose areas in your grant application package. So the first is to provide personnel, training, technical assistance, advocacy, intervention, risk reduction, including using evidence-based indicators to assess the risk of domestic and dating violence homicide and prevention of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and sexual assault against individuals with disabilities. The second purpose area is to conduct outreach activities to ensure that individuals with disabilities who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, or sexual assault receive appropriate assistance. The third purpose area is to conduct cross-training for victim service organizations, governmental agencies, courts, law enforcement, and nonprofit, non-governmental organizations who are serving individuals with disabilities about risk reduction, intervention, prevention, and the nature of domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, and sexual assault for individuals with disabilities. The fourth purpose area is to provide technical assistance to assist with modifications to existing policies, protocols, and procedures to ensure equal access to services, equal access to programs, and activities of victim service providers for individuals with disabilities. The fifth purpose area is to provide training and technical assistance on the requirements of shelters and victim service providers under the federal anti-discrimination laws, including the Americans with Disabilities Act. The sixth purpose area is to modify facilities, purchase equipment, and provide personnel so that shelters and victim service organizations can accommodate the needs of individuals with disabilities. And this is really good because most times purchase of equipment and modification of facilities are not an eligible cost under most grant programs. So the fact that to modify facilities is an eligible expense under this grant program is really great. So that is the sixth purpose area, to modify facilities, purchase equipment, and provide personnel so that shelters and victim service organizations can accommodate the needs of individuals with disabilities. The seventh purpose area is to provide advocacy and intervention services for individuals with disabilities who are victims. The eighth and final purpose area is to develop model programs providing advocacy and intervention services within organizations serving individuals with disabilities who are victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. And so these are the eighth purpose areas for this grant program. The funding agency stated that the activities listed below, they provided 3 activities that are out of the scope of this grant program, and they said that it will not be supported by this grant's funding. So be careful not to include these activities as a fundable item in your grant application. So the first is research projects, and this research project does not include program assessments conducted for internal improvement purposes. So if you have activities that you will do program assessment to ensure that you improve the processes of your program, that's not what they're mentioning or referring to here. They're talking about research. So they do not intend to fund research projects. The second out-of-scope activity is public service campaigns. They will not fund those. The third out-of-scope activity is projects that focus on children. So please note that applications that propose activities that are deemed to be substantially out of scope may receive a deduction in points during the review process and may be eliminated from consideration entirely. So please be sure do not include any of these 3 out-of-scope activities. Activities requiring prior approval. So there are 2 activities here that will require prior approval in order to be submitted, in order to be supported by the grant funds. And the first is surveys. This will need prior approval to be supported by grant funds. The second will be renovations, including such minor things as painting and carpenting that will need prior approval. So additionally, please note that grant funds cannot be used to support conferences, meetings other than routine partner meetings for instance, long distance and short distance travel, or training without prior Office of Violence Against Women approval through the issuance of a grant adjustment notice. So the Office of Violence Against Women does not anticipate the disability program grantees holding conferences, trainings, or any other such meeting. So please make sure that your grant application reflects these things, these restrictions, and these out-of-scope activities. So it's decision time, and I do have some questions to aid you in making your decision on applying for this grant program. So the first is, are you an eligible applicant? We did go over the eligible applicants, and if you are an eligible applicant, that's really good. The second question is, do you have a need for this grant? So if you have a need for this grant, that's really good because this grant is available and waiting on you to apply for it. Do you want to apply for this grant? So this is a question that you must make an assessment of. Do you have the staff? Do you have the time? Do you have the expertise to pursue this grant application? And if you've answered yes, then congratulations, because that means that you are one step closer to submitting a grant application and possibly winning the grant award. Remember that the grant due date is February the 7th, 2019 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that means that there is less than 1 month to prepare and submit the grant application. So if you have not gotten started already and you are decided that you would like to apply for the grant, please get started right away because you have less than 1 month now. We are at the end of the webcast, and I would like to thank you for spending the time with me. I would also love to get some feedback from you. Please like our page or subscribe to our page for additional grant funding opportunities that come out and we do webcasts on and provide other information about available grant funding. So if you listen to this webcast and you learned a bit more about this grant program, or this webcast did assist you to complete your grant application, I would love to get some feedback from you. So just leave a comment in the comment section and that would help me greatly. Also, if you are decided that you want to apply for the grant but you do not want to do so in-house, that is why Comprehensive Grants Management exists. We are a full-time, full-year grant writing firm and we would love to work with you. So please give us a call at 813-949-2877 or send us an email at grants@comprehensivegrants.com and let us know that you would like to get started on this grant, and we will get started right away. Thank you so very much for spending this time with me, and I look forward to spending the time with you in my next webcast.